Good morning and welcome to Face the Nation. I'm John Dickerson. It's day 2 of the shutdown, but on day 3, when most federal employees go to work, the effects will really kick in. Can Congress and the president overcome the paralysis in Washington and work together to reopen the government? We begin today with House Speaker Paul Ryan. Welcome, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
So where are things in this negotiations as of right now?
Well, first, let me just say, this is your last show. You're going from hanging out with the likes of Ryan and Mulvaney to hanging out with O'Donnell and King. You're in for a serious upgrade. I want to say congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So to the serious point, we are still in shutdown. We're waiting for the Senate Democrats to open the government back up. This is solely done by the Senate Democrats. It's absolutely meaningless. They shut down the government over a completely unrelated issue, and the bill that they're opposing is a bill that they support, which is just baffling to us. Children's health insurance, funding for our troops, keeping the government going. They shut it down over an unrelated immigration issue with a deadline weeks away. And what's so baffling about this was we were negotiating in good faith on DACA all the same. We actually want to solve this problem. So it's not as if we were saying no way, no how, no discussions. They blew up the negotiations that were already underway.
I want to get to some of those issues in a minute, but where are we right now? Is there an agreement to maybe get something going here before people go to work or don't?
We're waiting
on
to
Monday?
see. We're basically waiting to see today whether the Senate will vote on this or not and have the votes for it. So, as you know, the House passed a bill keeping the government funded.
But what's going to change that they would vote on that?
That bill, what Leader McConnell is going to be offering is one that has a different date on it. We passed a bill keeping things funded to February 16th. He is going to bring up a bill keeping things funded to February 8th. We have agreed that we would accept that in the House. And so we will see sometime today whether or not they have the votes for that. And that's really where we are right now.
The president, you talk about blame for the Democrats and all that, but they're not the only players in this. In 2013, the president, Donald Trump, as a civilian, said, it always happens to be the top. I mean, the problems start from the top and have to get solved at the top. The top he was talking about was the presidency. So why is this president, who came in as a negotiator, who said he was going to fix Washington, why is he not contributory to this problem that we have a government shutdown?
As Republicans, we have some experience with futile gestures like government shutdown. You want to see some quotes? Let me give you one. Open the government. When you open the government, we'll open negotiations. That was Dick Durbin in 20orteen.
Right, but
that's
I'm
exactly
talking about the
what they were saying
though,
back in
not
those
Dick
days.
Durbin.
Well,
the president came in saying, Washington's broken, I'm going to fix it.
And
we're exactly where we were. This is why he ran. This is what everybody doesn't like.
Donald Trump didn't shut down the government. Senate Democrats. Why do they call this the Schumer shutdown? Because Senate Democrats shut down the government.
So Republicans calling it the Schumer shutdown. I want to get past all that. Here's the thing.
No, but John, let me get you there.
Okay.
You can't blame Donald Trump for the Senate Democrats shutting down the government. They shut down the government with no end game in sight. I frankly don't think they thought we were going to pass our bill. And when we passed our bill, funding children's health insurance, keeping the troops funded, preventing the medical device tax from kicking in a few days, which will raise everyone's health care costs, they would not pass that bill. That has nothing to do with President Trump.
I'm not trying to assign blame. I'm trying to just figure out what's going on here. This is a very familiar play. We've been here before, as you say.
And it's futile. It never works.
But I want to know why a president who came, just what's gone wrong? Why has he not been able to apply? He came in as the great negotiator. What is it that has made it impossible for a person who ran on fixing the system unable to
It's a good question because
this?
we're so baffled. If we were saying, for instance, we are never going to do a DACA solution, we're going to kick these kids out, then I might understand Democrats getting frustrated. But what's baffling about this, John, is we were in negotiations on how to solve this problem, and then they blew that up and stopped these negotiations. So we have Kevin McCarthy, representing House Republicans, who was negotiating with Dick Durbin and other leaders. That's what's baffling about this.
Here's what they say, and you had 2 Republicans in the Senate who voted against this funding measure for roughly similar reasons, which is the president's been a moving target. Mitch McConnell, the leader of the Republicans in the Senate, said, we're spinning our wheels until we know where the president is. So the Democrats felt like, or this is their case anyway, they felt like he's a moving target. Let's use this moment of leverage, as Republicans did with Obamacare in 2013.
Which didn't work and didn't. And I can look.
Right, but it was something they cared about. Democrats care about this too. I guess the question is,
where's the president on this issue?
And is he going to stay in one place?
Yeah. So, I think what president should do is leave room for negotiation to get a solution. That's exactly what he's doing. He's basically saying, in addition to a DACA solution, we have to have border security, including funding for a wall. He wants to get rid of the diversity visa program, and we want to move from a system of immigration based on family relations to one based on skills and merit for what the economy needs. Perfectly common sense. Here's the issue. If we simply did DACA without incumbent reforms, then you'd have a DACA problem 5 years down the road. We want to fix the problem and the root cause of the problem. DACA is a symptom of a broken immigration system. We want to fix the root cause of this problem while we deal with DACA so that we don't have 700,000 more DACA kids in 5 years. That's perfectly common sense, and that's all the president is saying.
I want to see if I can get your reaction to something that the Trump campaign has run. It's an ad they're running right now in the middle of these negotiations where everybody's thinking the other side has bad faith. Let's watch a little bit of it. I want to get your reaction about how this affects things.
President Trump is right. Build the wall. Deport criminals. Stop illegal immigration now. Democrats who stand in our way will be complicit in every murder committed by illegal immigrants.
Are Democrats complicit?
Well, they're certainly not helping us keep the government open. They're certainly not helping us getting to a solution on immigration. When you shut down the government and stop negotiating on immigration reform, they're complicit with not getting things done.
But are they complicit in murders? And
Look, I'm not going to comment on it. I just saw that. I don't know if that's necessarily productive. It's no secret the president has strong views on immigration, but what is not productive is a pointless government shutdown that the Senate Democrats have foisted on this country. Just so you know, you said this in your opening, tomorrow people don't get paid, people get furloughed. Right. We have soldiers fighting for us, troops overseas fighting for us who will not be getting paid. Well, this is ridiculous. And so look, we've done this before, it didn't work. It's not working now. Look, let me just give you a quick. Chuck Schumer said.
Hold on, but wait. There are military. This military question is important, though. I'm sorry to interrupt, but you know, in 2013, the president, then candidate Trump, said, "Here's the truth: the government doesn't shut down. All essential services continue. Don't believe the lies." On this question of the military, in 2013, the payments continued, so they don't continue now? Because I've looked at a lot of facts.
You can ask the OMB director that in a minute, because I know you have him coming on.
But it's quite a volatile thing to say they're not getting paid.
Yeah,
if they are
don't.
Getting paid.
Their payment gets deferred. They don't.
Why
They don't get
Why
paid.
couldn't Congress have fixed that?
We did. We passed a bill. It's sitting in the Senate. They filibustered.
But why didn't the Democrats didn't filibuster the payment for the troops separate?
The bill we
from
passed
the
pays the troops. It pays the Park Service. It pays the Border Patrol. It pays people doing basic health research.
Right. But in 2013, when there was a shutdown, they did in fact get paid.
No,
right?
their pay gets deferred. Here, let me just say something. I believe in immigration reform. What if I persuaded my caucus to say, I'm going to shut down the government, I'm not going to pay our bills unless I get my way? It's a politics of idiocy, confrontation, and paralysis. That's Chuck Schumer in 2013.
You're taking all the quotes I'm going to read.
I know you were. I'm saving you time.
But my point is, I'm trying to get answers from you,
my
Mr.
point
Speaker.
is, this is ridiculous. Open the government back up, and then we'll get back to negotiating.
But let me go back to this. You said that the ad is not productive. Here's the concern people have. This is a fight over this moment, okay? But it's opening up this larger, pretty ugly debate. That ad suggests basically the Democrats are for the dangerous people, we're for the good Americans. When it gets into that kind of a debate, it gets very elemental, and you start saying things and creating wounds that can't be healed.
So
Do you worry about that?
So we should open the government back up and resume negotiations, which were going on in earnest, in good faith, before they blew things up and shut down the government.
Can you give me your assessment of the president as a negotiator on this DACA question?
Yeah, I talk to him all the time about it. It's what I just said. He wants, in addition to a DACA solution, he wants to secure the border, including the border wall. Here's the problem. If we have an illegal immigration problem, and we say we're going to give legal status to this group of people, as sympathetic as they are, and I don't want to see these kids deported, and then you don't fix the problem, you're going to have more people saying, come to the country illegally, sooner or later I'll get an amnesty. That's a bad incentive structure. So what you want to do is fix the root cause of the problem. We don't have control of our borders. We have a broken immigration system while we address this symptom of the problem. That's what the president is saying, and that's perfectly common sense.
Well, let me ask you about Congress, though, here. This has been a problem for a while, DACA, as has the Children's Health Insurance Program. In a functioning Congress, when DACA is thrown back into Congress to deal with, you work through the process, you get a piece of legislation, you vote on it. The same is with reauthorizing children's health insurance. Those things have not been tended to by Congress.
Do you know why? We've passed it 3 times now in the House. We have passed.
So is this all the Senate's
We've
fault?
passed the CHIP program. This is the 3rd CHIP long-term reauthorization we have passed in the House, and the Senate Democrats have been filibustering it each and every time. We passed all 12 appropriation bills for all of government last September in the House, and the Senate Democrats have been filibustering those bills. We passed in December funding for these natural disasters and the hurricanes, and the Senate Democrats have been filibustering these bills. So the point I'm trying to make, John, is the Senate Democrats have chosen filibuster CHIP, filibuster appropriations, filibuster getting these things done, and then blame the dysfunction on everybody else. The point I'm trying to make is, if you want to get these problems solved, open up the government, resume negotiations, and let's solve these problems.
But their argument would be, if you want to get these problems solved in a Senate where you know you need 60 votes, when you have, you need to do a little outreach and be ready. If you're going to say it's my way or the highway,
why don't you just bring a bill to the floor and start appropriations? Let's take appropriations.
Well, what about DACA? Why not bring something? You know, you could get a bipartisan majority for DACA in the House and the Senate. The president would be on his desk in minutes.
Bring bills to the floor and see where they go. On appropriations, bring bills to the floor to see where they go on all these other issues. Here's the problem. The Democrats filibuster even considering these bills, and that is why we have this big pileup. And with respect to DACA, it's really important. We want to fix the root cause of the problem while we address the symptom of the problem. That's perfectly common sense. And just so you know, John, we had good faith negotiations on this issue underway. Until the Senate Democrats chose to shut down the government.
Democrats can speak for themselves, but their argument is they weren't in good faith. The president said, "I'll take a deal." A deal was put before him, then he wouldn't take it. But on this question of DACA, why not?
I would take issue with that, but go ahead.
Well, there is a bipartisan agreement that could be put on the floor of the Senate. The question is whether
that's one that we don't support,
House.
And it was an end run around the negotiations we had. So we had a negotiating format up. They brought another bill end run around it. The president doesn't support it. We don't support it. So what we're saying is, let's stick with these negotiations. We had Kevin McCarthy, the majority leader of the House, Steny Hoyer, the majority whip, Dick Durbin, the minority whip, and John Cornyn, the majority whip of the Senate. In negotiations, they try to bring some end run around it that the president he doesn't support, that we wouldn't support. We will support a bill that the president supports to fix this problem, and that means fixing this problem more comprehensively, so we don't have another DACA problem 5-10 years down the road.
Let me ask you a final political question. 2018, there are some retirements. Are you going to be Speaker if you have the majority in the next Congress? After these elections?
Yeah, if we keep the majority, then the Republican Speaker. You're asking me if I'm going to run for re-election? That's a decision my wife and I always make each and every term when we have filing in Wisconsin late in spring. And I'm not going to share my thinking with you before I even talk to my wife.
Well, it's my last show, Mr. Speaker.
So look, we're doing fine. I have no plans of going anywhere anytime soon. But that's something that my wife and I always decide in late spring of the election.
Still having, what do you feel?
Yeah, well, I'm not having fun in a government shutdown. I like to get back to work and make sure that we don't defund CHIP and stop funding our troops.
Mr. Speaker, thanks for being here.
Congratulations.